You're listening to The Hikam with Shaykh Zahir Bacchus of the Lotri Foundation. In this podcast, Shaykh Zahir explains the aphorisms from Ibn Ata'illah's famous book of wisdoms, Al-Hikam Al-Ata'iyah, a classical manual of spiritual development. Visit seekershub.org for online courses, our reliable answer service, and engaging media.
This is number 30 of the Hikmah, of the Hikam Ibn Ata'illah, and he bases it on a couple of ayahs in the Quran, in Surah At-Talaq. He bases on two specific ayahs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking about affluence, talking about about having wealth and the spending of wealth or not having wealth, and what one should do. And Ibn Ata'illah, he relates it, as we'll see, to the understanding that one has, or the relationship that one has with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so he says, Ibn Ata'illah, he quotes the ayah, لِيُنْفِقْ ذُو سَاعَةٍ مِّن سَاعَتِي. In Surah At-Talaq, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, let the affluent, or let him who is affluent spend of his affluence. Let those who are affluent, those who are wealthy, spend of their wealth. Spend of their wealth, in other words. So he says, Ibn Ata'illah, al-wasilun ilayhi, these are those who have reached him. These who will spend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's wealth, who will spend of the affluence, because they've been given wealth, they spend of it. Those are those who have reached Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he quotes this ayah, he says, وَمَنْ قُدِرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ فَلْيُنْفِقْ مِمَّا آتَاهُ اللَّهُ. And as for those whose risk comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as for those who risk comes from Allah has been strained or been narrowed, as for those whose providence or risk has come from Allah and it's been narrowed, then let him spend of what Allah has provided him. Let him spend from what Allah, مِمَّا أَتَاهُ اللَّهُ, from what Allah has given to him or brought to him. And he says, السَّائِرُونَ إِلَيْهِ, these are the travelers to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or those on the way, those traveling or those on the way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says, Ibn Ata'illah, in the first ayah, about those who are affluent, let him spend on his affluent. Those are those who have reached him. What is the difference between these two ayahs, as he says, and those who are on their way? It's how one views affluence, or how one views wealth, or how one views what has come to one, how one views it. So those who have reached Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they see that everything that has come to them has come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And because their focus is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, without focus of collecting the dunya, without their focus is not in the gathering of worldly things, then they see whatever has come to them as being a gift or being more than they need. Those who have reached Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they see that whatever has come, they see it more than what they will ever need. No matter if it's a little, they see that it's more than what they will ever need. And so what happens to them? They will freely spend it. Even if they don't have any, even if they have very few, they will always give it and they'll always spend it. And if anyone asks, they'll keep giving, even if they are in the category of being poor. Even if they're in the category of being poor, they will give. They will give. Because why? Because their hearts have been opened up to that understanding that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will replace whatever they spend, and that they are in full they have that full understanding that risk comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He takes care of His servants. They have reached, so they don't need to withhold from people who have asked, or withhold by thinking and calculating. They don't calculate in accordance to the world, in accordance to the dunya. Their calculation is fully for akhirah. That's what they calculate. Their full acts, all of their actions, all of their words is in contemplation of the akhirah. Nothing of it is on this world. Nothing. And so this was the embodiment, this spirit was the embodiment of the Prophet ﷺ. He embodied it. And we know that he embodied it by the companions saying that he, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he never refused when people asked. The Prophet ﷺ never refused when people asked for anything. He never refused. He always gave. Whatever he was asked for, he always gave. This is what the companions, Anas radiallahu anhu, he says of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he never said no to a request. He never said no to a request. He gave. And in some cases when he did not have, and people asked, he sent them, or he borrowed. He borrowed in order to give to those who were asking. Because the Prophet ﷺ was not envisioning or calculating what he had in terms of this world. He was not calculating and putting through adjustments to what he had in this world. Rather, he was thinking always about the akhirah. He was thinking about the next world. And so when he was thinking about the next world, then he saw that whatever he had in this world would just come to dust anyhow. And so if you give it, then it would become something that would comes back to you in the akhirah in terms of blessing. And so the first one, the surah is in Surah At-Talaq, and infaq here in the surah is on specifically your family. It's on specifically your family, and it's on your family that especially those who have or who have been given more than they want or more than they have achieved. However, as he says, some of the scholars who did sharh on it, that what is meant by Ibn Ata'illah is that giving of the ones who have reached is giving because everyone becomes Ahlullah. Everyone they see as being a component, a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they are Ahlullah in the general sense. They are the family of Allah because they are the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so giving to them is opened up here, is opened up to everyone. And those who are traveling on their way, those who are on their way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they encompass the second meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, he whose risk has been from Allah has been made narrow, meaning in terms of what they want in this world. See, they're calculating in this world. And so in their calculation of this world, they see things that they need to spend on and so on, and they may not have the opportunity, they may not have enough to spend on it. So to them, it has become narrowed. It has become straightened. And so he says, let them spend, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, let them spend of what Allah has given to them. Okay, let them spend from what Allah has provided for them. They are those who are on the way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because their understanding and their calculating is of this world. Their focus is the next world. Everyone's focus is the next world. All the believers, their focus is the next world. It depends on the path and where they are on the path. There are those whose focus is the next world and they struggle with prayers. There are those whose focus is on the next world and they struggle against sinning. There are those whose focus on the next world and they struggle in many different things, because everyone is on everyone's path. Everyone is on the path in different stages. Everyone is on the path to Allah, but they are in different stages. They're in different stages, and so there are those who are imprisoned by this world, the beauties of this world, the fancies of this world, the things that draw their attention. They're imprisoned by it, by their hawa. They're on a path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They haven't rid themselves of being drawn into the beauty of this world. They haven't rid themselves from the forms of this world. They haven't. They're on a path to Allah. They're traveling to Allah, but they haven't completely rid themselves of the dunya. In other words, they will travel, but they haven't reached Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because when you reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the concern for this world becomes removed. The concern for this world becomes removed. And what you have and what you wear and what you drive and what you need becomes removed from one. It becomes removed. And so the looking in comparison what you have in this world to others, or what you may want out of your desire and out of the beautification of things in this world, it becomes meaningless to the one who has reached. It becomes meaningless to the one who has reached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so their focus is in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's their focus, is in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what they leave behind is their desire to attain this world. They leave behind it, and they leave behind it the thinking of what other people are going to think. That's what they leave behind. They leave behind thinking about what other people are going to think. And people actions and words are sometimes motivated, a lot of times are motivated by what other people are going to think. People's actions and words a lot of times are motivated by what other people are going to think. And that's the reality, because they're imprisoned by this world. They're imprisoned by it. When you leave the concern of what people think and what they're going to assume, then you have broken an imprisonment. You have broken that attachment, one of the attachments of this world. And it is a major attachment in the time that we live in. That people, actions and words are motivated by what they think other people are going to think, or what other people are going to assume. People like this are on a path to Allah. They haven't reached yet though. And so they struggle. And their struggle is daunting. And it can be daunting. Because they accumulate things, and they need things, and they want things, and they acquire things, and they do things for the pleasure of people. Once one is motivated by what people think and what you think they assume, then your actions are not for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala completely. It's not. Your actions are not done for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your buying, your selling, your acquisition, sometimes even your ibadah is not completely free of others co-joining in it. It's not. And so those who are on the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, A, have to realize it. B, ask, how do you rid yourself from it? Just ask why you need what you think you need. Ask why you do what you do. Ask what motivates you. What is it that motivates you? What is it that motivates someone? Could be something, we can ask ourselves before we come to the masjid, what motivates us to come to the masjid so early in the morning for Fajr? Because it can be a lot of other things other than the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It certainly can be. It can be a lot of other things. Not that it should prevent us from coming, even if it's other things. Or what motivates us to study, what motivates us to learn, what motivates us to do things, what motivates us is key. And this is what is meant by this hikam of Ibn Ata'illah. The ones who have arrived, everything that they have is wealth, is access, everything. Everything becomes access then of what they've gotten from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because they see and they realize Allah is the most bountiful and His bounty never stops, it never ceases. The ones who are traveling to Allah are the ones who will look at what they have in calculation of this world, in calculation of what they need, in calculation of their neighbors, or what others have, or what other people possess. And so they are the ones who will think that that their risk has become narrowed. And so they spend from what Allah has given to them. Meaning that they calculate exactly what has been given, and they know what is excessive, and if it's not, then they don't spend. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us and guide us, forgive us, have mercy upon us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help and guide, protect all of our brothers and our sisters, our parents, elders, give them good health and long life, those who have passed away. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them His mercy, His maghfirah, and His shade. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who are sick, may Allah heal them and cure them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us and guide us, forgive us, have mercy upon us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and our children, give them good health, long life. Those who are faced with challenges and difficulty, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remove those difficulties and those challenges. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make our homes amongst the homes of the believers, and make our last words our best words. Subhanakallahu hamdik, shadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk, wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Ameen.
Thank you for listening to The Hikam with Shaykh Zahir Bacchus. Help Seekers Hub spread the light of guidance to millions around the world by supporting us through monthly donations by going to seekershub.org/donate. Your donations are tax deductible in the US and Canada.